In the late 70s, there had once lived a boy named Gerald. He was 8 years old and lived with his handicapped mother, Judith. His father had died recently, so was forced to take care of his frail mother all by himself. Of course, he wouldn't have to take care of such serious things like paying bills and stuff like that. But he had his share of things to help her with, like getting in the car, getting out of bed, washing the dishes, and other things most handicaps weren't able to do. They had just moved into a small house in Pennsylvania along Briar Creek. The house was very old, and its chandeliers were dangling by only the support of a small piece of wire. Its windows were covered with spider webs and strange black substances, very similar to that of tar. The bathroom was basic, containing a tub, toilet, and mirror. There was no sink, so it was uncommon for previous owners to have gone to the kitchen to wash their hands after using the bathroom. Like any old house that an 8-year-old could imagine, it had a basement. It was very dark and made Gerald uneasy at times, but that's not what he feared most about the house. On the second floor there were 2 bathrooms with stairs to the attic, his mother's room to the right and his to the left. His room, somewhat ironically, was the farthest from the stairs. He had to walk a good 20 feet in order to get from his room to them. His room, an 11 by 10, was a pretty decent room compared to the rest of the house. It had a good-sized bed, drawer, toy box, mirror, window, and a closet. It wasn't just any closet that you would go in, get your clothes, and get out. It had a steel latch on it, keeping it from whatever being opened. Gerald's mother had told him ever since they had purchased the house to not go in there. But it was very tempting considering the fact that the key was on top of Gerald's dresser, which was in reach. Being a well-behaved child, Gerald listened to his mother until one day when curiosity got the better of him. It was 3 a.m. in the morning and Gerald had just gotten up to use the bathroom. Since the only sink in the house was in the kitchen, he went downstairs to wash his hands. Once he finished washing, he started up the staircase to hear a strange, growling noise. He clutched his teddy bear Rufus in his arms and gathered up all the courage he had to slowly walk up the stairs. It seemed like it took ages to walk down that vast hallway at such a slow pace. Then, to his surprise, the growling led him straight to his room. He took a big gulp and slowly opened the door. He flipped the lights on and found a bloody handprint on his pillow. He screeched louder than a banshee and dashed to the master bedroom to tell his mother about the crisis. She had told him his story was nonsense and he probably just had a bad dream, but he insisted. His mother shrugged it off and let him help her out of the bed. He rolled her into his room, flipped on the lights, and the bloody handprint was gone. But it was here! You're probably just having a bad dream, sweetie. Gerald didn't bother to argue with her. That would only make things worse. So he wheeled her back into her room, kissed her goodnight, then went back to his room and fell asleep. The next day after school, Gerald was playing in his room with his toy soldiers. He was home alone since his Aunt Nellie had taken his mother out for the day. It was a perfect opportunity for some mischief. But no, Gerald's too good of a boy for that, or so he thought. The key was just on top of the drawer and his mother wouldn't be home for another 3 hours. Just a peek wouldn't hurt anyone. No! Mama said no, and when she says no, she means it. He was suddenly thrown into one of those conscious situations like in a cartoon when an angel is on one shoulder and the devil is on the other. He chose the devil's side. Mama won't be home for a while. I'll just take a peek. She'll never know I was there. He had made his decision. He got Rufus, just in case things would get scary. He always felt a little braver with the stuffed bear in his arms. He took the key off the top of his drawer and made his way to the closet. He felt guilty what he was about to do, but that 8-year-old curiosity was just too much for him to handle. He had to know what was in the closet. He put the key in the lock, twisted it, and sure enough, he heard a click. That was a noise the good side of him never hoped to hear. He squeezed Rufus so hard that it tore a rip into the side of the bear's torso. He opened the closet door to find not some old clothes, but nothing. It was empty. Nothing but some old torn drywall and a rug with an unbearable odor. Gerald chuckled at how ridiculous it was, closed the door, locked it, and turned around. He suddenly fell down to his feet in shock and amazement to find a small black kitten sitting in the center of his room. He observed that it had a collar with its name written in pure gold. Bella, a decent name for such a beautiful kitten, which he simply fell in love with. "Hi, my name's Gerald. It's nice to meet you, Bella." He began talking with the cat. He shook her paw, but Bella didn't scratch. She cuddled up to the boy and he took her in his arms. His heart raced with pure excitement as he could not wait for his mother to get home. He knew his mother would let him keep her, and sure enough, she did. She let him run to the store, get cat food, a new bowl, and everything. Gerald fell in love with the kitten and their relationship grew within days. Gerald took her on a walk early next morning to get some air. It was a peaceful day, almost as if nothing could go wrong. Little did he know the neighbor's pit bull was unchained. Ada pounced after him and Bella with its gnashing teeth. Gerald gasped and immediately started running with Bella in hand. He made it a short distance before being tackled to the ground by the immense pit bull. It growled at such an angry tone that no one could ever imagine a dog being capable of. Gerald was terrified, and just before the pit bull could chomp down on his flesh, Bella leaped onto it. The dog quickly threw her off his back and started chasing her down the streets. Gerald tried running after them, but they were too fast. Without thinking, he made a break for the police station. Meanwhile, the dog was right on Bella's tail, snapping ruthlessly and violently as she was almost in reach. Soon enough, Bella was cornered at a dead end. The dog, hungry, was anxious to have a nice kip for breakfast. He ever so slowly walked up to her until he was about a foot from her face. She paused and observed the large pit bull for a second, slightly tilting her head like other felines do. She was hungry too, hungry for flesh. All of a sudden, the kitten's head started twisting and turning demonically, and she had let out a blood-curdling screech. The dog backed up, looked around, but stayed put. Bella's body started morphing and growing with a slight crack in her bones to reveal herself as a large cheetah. From her back sprouted two large, sharp-edged wings, and her tail became much more vast with a tip that could stab like a saber. Her hair became much longer and darkened to an unnatural black texture. Her eyes, no longer sweet as can be, turning burning red and pierced into the dog's. She then let out another demented cry in which her transformation was complete. The dog, although frightened, stayed put and tried to convince the creature that he was tougher. Bella didn't buy it and turned the wheel. This time, the dog was cornered. It tried to get a quick bite into her but missed. Instead, Bella opened her jaws and snapped down on the poor animal's back, breaking it instantly. She then devoured him piece after piece. The next day, signs were put up everywhere about Bella. Gerald had asked for hours if anyone had seen her, but no one did. Not a single animal. "Leave us alone!" Gerald went to bed after that, after a long day of questioning. "Don't worry, sweetie. We'll find Bella soon enough. She couldn't have run that far." She kissed him on the head and tucked him in. It was soon 3 a.m. when Gerald needed a glass of water. He then proceeded down the stairs and got some tap water from the sink. Sure enough, he heard the growling noise from upstairs again. except this time it was much louder. Gerald didn't feel quite as scared as the last time, but he was still scared. So he went upstairs, turned the lights on in his room, then nothing. There wasn't anything there. His pillows were spotless and nothing was rearranged in his room. He sighed and got into bed, shut the lights off. The door to his closet had swung open and Gerald tried screaming, but nothing came out. The growling came back much louder and his pillows were covered in bloody handprints. A shadowy figure came crawling out from his closet on its hands and knees and went straight under his bed. Gerald suddenly was pinned to his bed by a supernatural force and couldn't get up. He couldn't cry, he couldn't scream, he couldn't struggle, he couldn't do anything. He was trapped. Then the closet door started opening and slamming shut. His lights flickered on and off and his window had shattered with a big clash. Gerald tried shutting his eyes, but he couldn't. Almost as if something or someone had been there to hold them open. From the end of his bed slowly slithered a black shadowy figure right up to his face. Gerald panicked and his eyes grew wider and wider. From what was a shadowy mass suddenly became a human figure right up to his face. Gerald nearly fainted at that point because not only was it a surprise, but the man himself was terrifying. His clothes were black and torn, which revealed flesh and bone to the boy. His body emitted an illuminating red glow from top to bottom. His face was the worst of all. He was pale with cuts and scrapes and a gruesome bloody smile. And his eyes, he had no eyes. They weren't eyes at all, but two deep black holes. The boy gathered all his courage and strength in him to scream. Stopped. The man disappeared, the closet was shut, the lights stopped flickering. Gerald raced to his mother to tell her what happened. She told him it was nonsense. As usual, he became frustrated with his mother. He was tired of the fact that she never believed in him. He got her into the wheelchair, without asking, and rolled her into his room. He had hoped with all of his heart that the shattered window would prove that it happened. When he got into his room, the window was in perfect condition, as if nothing happened. His mother gave him a big slap and demanded that he bring her back to her bed. Mother, why would you hit me? She didn't say a single word in response and told him to go back to bed. He did and spent most of the night of it crying into his pillow to sleep. The following day, Judith had gotten into the bathroom to take a shower. Her son patiently waited outside the door to help assist her back into a wheelchair. When she was done, she turned off the faucet and squeezed her hair dry. When she opened the curtain, she was faced with two beating red eyes off of the body of a black cheetah-like creature. She screamed and bumped her head against the wall. Mother? Mother! He tried to open the door to save her, but it was locked. Gerald immediately rushed to the phone down 911. Meanwhile, his mother was in peril. She couldn't get past the creature and certainly couldn't fight it off. The creature grinned, curling its lips to reveal its serrated teeth. Then the shower head was suddenly turned on boiling hot, scorching Judith's skin. She couldn't escape as the creature blocked her way out. The shower head then turned off only to start spraying blood on her. Soon the tub had nearly overflowed with the blood since so much was being poured out. From the drain came out two skeleton-like arms that held her down, causing her to drown in the blood. The creature leaned over her with a sinister grin and said in its demonic voice, "Where will you go? No one will know, and what you may see may be catastrophic, but no matter what it takes, my dark haven awaits." Then it chomped down on her and ripped out her jugular, causing her to drown and choke on her own blood. An hour later, the police arrived and broke open the door to see nothing but a skeleton in the bathtub. "What do you make of it?" "I don't know, but this has to be our toughest case yet." After that, Gerald had enough. He wanted answers, and he wanted them fast, so he visited the mayor of the town and asked him if he knew anything. "You mean you live in that house?" he asked nervously. Then the mayor asked nervously, "Yes, and I need answers. Why is it such a scary house?" Well, I might have trouble telling the story, but I'll try my best. About 3 years ago, the previous owner was a single man with a cat named Bella. The cat was very loving and always wanted attention. This didn't benefit the owner at all because he was very, very busy. The cat had been annoying him a lot during his work, so much that he couldn't get any of his work done. He tried locking the cat up, but her meowing was even more distracting. He had not been able to get his work done for weeks and was eventually fired from his job. The man, insane, had enough with his cat and used, well, witchcraft. What? I know it's crazy, but that's how insane the man he was. He used one of the most brutal spells in history. I don't know the name of it, and I'm pretty glad I don't, but I do know what it does. What does it do? It makes the body violently die by burning from the inside out. Well, some might say explains spontaneous combustion, but I don't believe in that stuff. So anyways, that's the spell he used on his cat. Then he locked the body in an empty, unused closet. Little did he know the side effects of the spell. The spirit would be trapped inside the closet until someone opened it. Then the cat would appear cuddly and cute for a few days and fall in love with the person who opened it. Or at least it's what the owner's eyes would see. Then she would turn on you, turning you into a demonic form she was cursed with, and would kill off all your family members, then you. So the man opened the closet to take the body out one day, but it was gone. He realized only a few seconds later that it was alive, right behind him, and slashed his chest, proceeding to drag him into the closet and devour him. Gerald was stunned. But what if Bella kills everyone first, then me? Then that means you're next! There, no longer stood the mayor, but Bella, the thing Gerald least wanted to see. Without his realization, it was on top of him, slowly and painfully crushing his skull while singing, "Where will you go? No one will know. What you may see may be catastrophic, but no matter it takes my dark cave and no way